Alright everybody, welcome back to school. School year 2021 should be fully in swing for most of you, and also welcome back to my channel. My name is AJ Edwards and this is Mr. E's Classroom, and today I want to review my summer reading and do a recap for my summer reading challenge. So a quick recap of my summer reading challenge: you had to pick 4 books and there were 8 different categories to choose from. You could have done 1 from 4 different categories, 2 from 1. I didn't really specify which, but the main goal was to read 4 books over the summer. Personally, I set the goal for me to read 8 books, 1 from each category, and I was able to do fairly well on the summer reading challenge. Quick recap of the categories there were to choose from. You had to pick a book about somebody's life, something that serves as self-help or personal development. You had to choose a book from the YA literature genre. You had to pick a thriller. Ooh. You had to pick a book that was published within 2021. You had to pick one of those naughty banned books that are forbidden within the hallowed halls of many institutions around the world. You had to pick a book that was recommended to you from a friend, a colleague, a family member, an enemy. And finally, my favorite, you had to pick a book from your childhood to go back and read again. Here's how I did. So I ended up reading a total of 14 books over the summer. For the category of a book from somebody's life, I did Michael Baldridge's Barbaric Heart. If you haven't already, please finish watching this video and then go look at my interview that I did with Mike back in June. It was really fantastic to be able to talk to Mike. It was a great conversation about his book, about his life, about the process of writing, the way he uses art as a means of healing from his experiences in Afghanistan. So if you haven't checked out that video, please watch it after you finish this video. For my self-help books, I did 3 books. One of them was for a class I took over the summer, but I read Chris Tavani's Why Do I Have to Read This? I read Penny Kittle's Right Beside Them, and I read Kylene Beers and Robert Probst's book, Notice and Notes, Reading Nonfiction. Overall, there were 3 really good books, but I would have to say if I could recommend one book to teachers to read as professional development for this school year, it has to be Chris Tavani's Why Do I Have to Read This? The best part about Tavani's book is that she really researches the different kinds of personalities of students that you're going to meet in the classroom, and understanding those personalities will help you to understand why they lose motivation or they lose focus, and it would help you to develop authentic connections with the students to help hopefully booster their confidence, build their engagement, and make them really want to be a part of your class and thrive as they learn and grow throughout the school year. Penny Kittle's Right Beside Them is really good, but the main problem I had with that one is that she focuses on a writing-only class. And because it's a writing-only class, you have to really figure how would you fit this into an English class, or how would you fit this into a history class, or how would you fit this into a science class. You don't have the time that she has within her book, within her classes, for her reflections and her lessons, so you really have to do a lot more work to incorporate it into your teaching. It's still a great book. I highly recommend reading all 3 of the books, but I would just say my number 1 was Tavani's, and I guess my number 3, dare I say, was Kittle's. For my YA Lit choice, I actually chose an author that I had never read before. I read Grenade by Alan Gratz. I really hoped to read more YA Lit over the summer, but I got really involved and engaged with the different other categories. So I think for my fall reading challenge, I'm going to do more YA Lit and be able to engross myself in more literature written specifically for kids. For my thriller, I read 4. I got into a bit of a thriller kick. All 4 of the authors that I had read before. I read Web of Fear by Mike Omer. I read With a Twist by J.A. Conrath. I read Most Dangerous Place by James Grippando. And I read C.G. Cooper's Prime Asset. All 4 of those are really awesome books. I think my favorite one was James Grippando's Most Dangerous Place. I really like his books, his Alex Switek books, and it's kind of cool to see like a legal thriller as opposed to like the typical police thrillers that I like to read. For my recommended books, if you guys remember when I interviewed Mr. Parson in the very first video that I produced for this channel, Mr. Parson recommended that I read Matt Haig's The Midnight Library. I'll give a review about that one here in a little bit. For my childhood books, I read 3 books from Harry Potter. I went back and I reread Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I still need to reread the final one, The Deathly Hallows, but I'm kind of delaying that gratification for a little bit longer. I also read another really cool book about Albus Dumbledore that really stood out to me as something really interesting. In his book, The Life and Lies of Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, Irvin Katieman, I believe I'm saying his name right. If I'm not, I apologize, but he does a really cool project where he explores Dumbledore throughout the 7 books of the series, and he really explores who the character is, and he really talks about Dumbledore from a different perspective, where you kind of wonder what his intentions were, and you kind of reevaluate whether he was a hero or kind of a villain within the Harry Potter series. It's a really great book. I highly recommend everybody read it. I thought it was really interesting as a big Harry Potter fan, and literary critics would probably enjoy reading it as well. For my banned books, I was kind of unoriginal. I'm going to count one of the Harry Potter books towards my banned books selection. I just honestly forgot about that category, and I just conveniently read Harry Potter, which happens to be a very, very highly banned and contested book in a lot of schools, districts, and libraries throughout America. I really don't know why, but you know, people do things. Finally, I regret to say for the 2021 book, I failed to read a book published this year. I got so caught up in Harry Potter, and I got so caught up in the Midnight Library, and I got so caught up with C.G. Cooper that I completely forgot about that topic as well. But I will say I got 7 of the 8 categories fulfilled. I read 14 books, and it was a pretty good summer reading in my opinion. So looking back at the books that I read, I'm going to rank the best book and the worst book that I read this summer. I would say the number 1 book that I read has to be Matt Haig's The Midnight Library. Within The Midnight Library, Haig does a really awesome job. He has his main character, Nora. So Nora is really depressed and life has just kind of lost all meaning, so she decides to take an early exit out. However, instead of dying, she ends up going to like an in-between land that is this giant library, and the librarian is Mrs. Elm, her old school librarian from way back when she was a child. Now within this library, there's a giant selection of books, and within each book is a life that Nora could have lived had she made a different choice at one point in her life. Think of it almost like the parallel universe theory, but in the form of different books instead of universes. Now, the premise of this book is Mrs. Elm tells Nora that she can go through each of these books that are different possible lives she could lead based on different choices she makes. If she can find a life where she can find true happiness and true fulfillment, she will continue to live the rest of that life until she dies. However, if she finds a moment where she's unhappy or she's not fulfilled, she gets pulled back into the Midnight Library and she has to pick another book to try to find a new life. The catch is, though, eventually time will run out, and if she cannot find that fulfillment, she's going to end up dying. Haig does a really awesome job really pulling you in and considering the choices that you've made in your past and wondering how your life would be different if you made different choices. Personally, the book got me thinking a lot about different choices that I had made, both good and bad, and made me wonder what kind of a life would I have now had I not become a teacher? What kind of life would I have if I didn't join the military? What if I wasn't a father? And it really got you thinking too about the idea of regrets and trying to fix the past and truly finding that acceptance for the choices you've made and learning to move forward in life as opposed to fixating on what could have happened back in the day. And finally, my least favorite book of the summer, and I'm going to premise this by saying every book I read was really, really good. Every book I would recommend other people check out, especially because there's a wide variety of different topics to choose from. However, if I had to pick a book that I probably won't read a second time, it's Mike Omer's Web of Fear. Now, I love Omer's Zoe Bentley series. A Killer's Mind is probably one of the best thrillers I've read in a long time. Web of Fear just didn't really do it for me. The characters were pulled in from books he'd written before, so it was nice to see familiar faces, but honestly, the premise of the story, the plot of the story, just didn't really keep me wanting more. Now, I will say Mike Omer's a fantastic author, and I look forward to reading more of his books. But if I were to recommend somebody to start with a Mike Omer book, it would probably be A Killer's Mind, which is the first part of his Zoe Bentley series. There you have it, folks. That is the 2021 Summer Reading Challenge. I was able to read 14 books from 7 different categories. So I want to hear from you in the comments below. Please tell me, what books did you read? Do you have any recommendations that you would give other people? Maybe there's books we should avoid reading. Let me know in the comments below what books you read and help spread the love of reading throughout this beautiful world we call YouTube. So thank you again, as always, everyone, for watching this video. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, help spread the word. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Please tell your friends about it. If you're new to Mr. E's Classroom, please subscribe. Thank you so much again for everything, everybody, and as always, please make it a great day.